Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 206 of The Reformed Gamers, a show about theology, video games, and beating down your backlog. I'm your host, Logan, and joining me, long time coming, I don't even know what the phrase is. It's been a long time in the making, whatever the phrase is, but I've got Charles Watson, the creator of the GG app, joining me for this episode. Charles, man, say hello to the dear listeners.
Hello, dear listeners.
I caught you at a bad time there. You're
Nice
like mid
to
drink.
finally be here.
It is, man. Like I was telling you even in the pre-show, like I had to tweet this out and take a picture of it and be like, okay, this is proof. Like there's no backing out now. This is the point of no return. You are on the Reformed Gamers. It's awesome to finally have you here on the show, man. I think a lot of our both longtime listeners and people in the Facebook group are going to be super stoked by this and probably pleasantly surprised as well to see you on here or hear you in their ears, depending on how you're checking out this episode here. For the uninitiated, for the people who, maybe don't know you personally or are not familiar with the GG app, which would be a surprise to me, but maybe spend some time kind of letting the dear listeners know a little bit about yourself, kind of what are some things you like to do, and what is the GG app in a nutshell?
Oh, where to start? Well, I guess I'll just start with how the app came to be.
Okay.
Basically, I started listening to TRG and
What?
getting lots of recommendations after like 12 years of not playing any video games. So I was just like getting back into it, and I didn't have anywhere to put all these recommendations. So being a software developer, I was just like, hey, I should make something, because like I've been using Goodreads for books and Letterboxd for movies for a long time. So just figured that it'd be a good idea to have one for games too.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been, you started this in 2017. Here we are, 2021. We'll get into it a little bit later, man, but it's a great app. It's what I use for my Backlog series on YouTube. And so I'm always repping it, doing a couple tours here and there of how the app looks and how it works and all that stuff. So it's awesome to have you on and get to kind of pick your brain a little bit about the app itself. So before we get into it, though, like a little bit about yourself, man. What are some things that you like to do? What are some hobbies that you like to do? And who is Charles Watson?
Well, I like to try to play video games. Don't do that very often, even though I'm making a gaming app.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got a few other side hustles that I'm doing too. And then
okay,
I have a couple kids now, and
yeah,
just got a lot going on. So
yeah, man. No, I understand. You're a busy guy, and I appreciate you carving out the time to join me on this episode here to talk about your app and some of the things that you've experienced just developing the app and kind of what the future looks like for the GG app. So, dear listeners, as always, links to everything that we talk about in this show or in this episode will be in your show notes. So pull up your podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, just scroll down below the video and you'll be able to check that out right there and be able to check all the links and everything out and maybe sign up for a GG app account for yourself. I don't know. Just worth checking out, my opinion. I'm just saying, it's pretty dope. A few things regarding housekeeping. I don't even know why I said it like that, but some housekeeping a little bit here before we get into the episode proper. Wanted to let people know that if you're playing Forza Horizon 5 on Xbox or PC, the Reformed Gamers Club is officially open. We've been trying to get that going ever since the game released, and it is finally open. If you need an invite, as always, hop into the Discord, send me a message, or Speed Racer, I think it's 349. I don't even think that's his real Discord name. And it's like I'm implying he doesn't have a real Discord name. I'm saying I can't remember what his Discord name is. Just send me a message. We'll get you in there, and we'll be able to race together and compete with the speed trap challenges, races, and all sorts of fun stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. Second thing I want to bring up is hop into the Discord. We're doing almost weekly Halo game nights. So if you have an Xbox or PC and you've been playing some Halo, hop on over there and we'll get you into the group and we'll have some games going. We came up with a game mode where it's just infinite rocket launchers and like almost 0 second respawn that we call divine intervention. So if you want to see what
Sounds
that's all
awesome.
about, it's pretty rad. It's pretty hectic, but hop on into the Discord and we'll get you going. As always, extra content is going up everywhere. Website, YouTube. Be sure to subscribe over there and follow those different avenues, and you'll be able to check out different videos, different articles, such as how Skyward Sword almost sent me back to therapy. You'll have to read the article to figure out what that's all about. But yeah, so be sure to check that out. As always, you can support our show over on Patreon. Links to everything will be in your show notes. But let's get into the show. I've rambled on long enough. Charles, man, I'm messing it up. I'm messing up the format of my own show. Welcome to the Reform Gamers. I'll start the show like we always do with a little bit of what we've been playing. Charles, man, now you said you try to play video games and you're a busy guy. Have you gotten the chance to play anything lately, or has it just been pretty much work, 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 family, family, family?
Yeah, I've played a little bit. So we have a monthly book club in GG in the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So I do play those every month. I don't always finish the game, but so for November we were playing Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Okay.
I only played like 2 levels of that because I didn't have enough time. But also, actually, the same night I started playing Omno, which I
Oh
will
yeah,
be
that's a good
getting back
game.
to that. Yeah, I backed that game on Kickstarter. I don't even know how many years ago,
Okay. Yeah, it was a while.
and
I
then it
backed
came
that
out
one
on Game
too.
Pass. So
Right? Okay. So did you feel kind of like, I don't know if idiot is the right word, but did you feel kind of like, wait a minute, when you saw that? Because I know when I saw that drop on Game Pass too, I was like, I don't know how I feel about, like, good for them because of the exposure, but at the same time, I'm like, I could have not paid money for this and played it on Game
yeah,
Pass.
I mean, I can't remember if Game Pass was a thing when I backed it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like kind of disappointed, but then I was like, well, I'm helping a small developer, so
That's true.
yeah. And it
Yeah.
was
So just,
also still cool to like get his updates as he was
mm-hmm.
developing it and everything. So
Yeah. Did you get to see your name in the credits of the game? Or I guess I should ask,
uh,
have you beaten
I ha-
it?
no, I only played maybe an hour so far, but
Okay. Yeah. So you still
yeah,
have a ways to go.
but I don't know. I don't remember what tier I backed at, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I'll find out. I'll look for my name.
Yeah. You'll see it on there based on how low in the credits it is.
Yeah,
But no. So very cool. So I'm
and
not.
oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I also had a brief stint with Astroneer. I played it for like 2 weeks straight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So what is Astroneer exactly? I know I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with what the game is.
it's very like Minecrafty in
Okay.
space. It's kind of like No Man's Sky, but
Okay.
a little more like friendly, I guess.
Okay. Not quite as daunting as
Yeah,
what No Man's Sky is.
yeah, and you can like build your base, and um, you have to like power all your machines and everything, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's fun.
Fair enough. So would you say that one is better than No Man's Sky, or
No,
no?
it's
Okay.
they're very different. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay. Well,
haven't
fair
played
enough.
No Man's Sky in a long time though. But
Yeah, I haven't either. I haven't really played it since I think launch, and I haven't really checked out any of the new updates or anything, so I don't really know what the game is even like.
yeah,
But
yeah, I also played it at launch and a little bit after launch. Um, I've been following their updates, but yeah, it looks like a completely different game at this point.
yeah, from what I understand, it's the game that it was supposed to be when they originally pitched it to everybody. But it just it seems like people are loving it. I know there's a lot of people in the TRG community that are
I
really
actually
digging it.
have
So
probably can't see it right there. It's my pre-order hand painted No Man's Sky spaceship.
Oh, you got one of the collector's editions?
Yeah, yeah, I'll grab it.
I forgot they even put
It's
a
actually
ship
awesome.
with a.
It's like die cast. It's got some nice weight to it.
Oh wow, dude! I completely forgot that they even did one of those.
Yeah. Also came with like a notebook and space pen and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, huh? That's really cool. For you audio listeners, go over to YouTube and check it out if you want to see it for yourself. It's pretty cool. Like, yeah, I'm always a fan when they do really good collector's editions like that. They actually put like some kind of high quality statue or model of something in the game in there. It's like with oh, what was it? Like with Destiny, the first Destiny expansion, they gave you a model of the ghost, and it had like Peter Dinklage's voice, and you could turn it on, and it would flash lights and do all that stuff. Probably to a lot of people listening to this, it was like, okay, dude, that's kind of a dumb thing to get excited over, but I thought it was cool. It was really well done. It's you don't really get that very often with special editions, and so it's nice to kind of get something of quality that's worth the price tag for those
Yeah.
there. But that's pretty
And at
cool.
this point, it's worth saying that you pre-ordered it because people aren't
Yeah.
mad as much anymore for that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, exactly. People are singing its praises now versus what it was around
Yeah.
launch. But yeah. Well, cool beans, man. Dear listeners, as far as what I've been playing, I've been, as always, working on games in my backlog, and one of the games I've been slowly chipping away at was the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy. I am almost at the end of the second game in Phoenix Wright, and I think at this point it's safe to say that I just don't really think I don't think visual novels are really for me. I think Phoenix Wright is hilarious. I think it's zany, it's bonkers, it's a lot of fun, but I don't know. There's this thing with these games specifically where you, for those that don't know what the game is, you play as an attorney, a defense lawyer, and you do a mix of investigating crime scenes and then defending your client in court. And you try to figure out contradictions in the witnesses' testimonies, and then you present evidence or you press them on a thing. It's really cool. It's not as like childish as the game may appear when you first look at it. But what kind of annoys me about the game is there's points where you're examining the witness's testimony and there's a contradiction there, so you present the evidence and then you get a penalty because you're actually supposed to press the person on all of their other statements and then get to that one, and then it opens up a new dialogue option and then you present the evidence there. It just seems like this really weird, like archaic, I don't know if archaic is the right word, but just kind of a clunky way of doing the gameplay like that. It's not really as flexible as I would like it to be. And it doesn't help that I'm also not very smart a lot of the times when it comes to examining things and investigating. It's just there's moments where you feel really cool playing the game, and there's other moments where you just feel kind of dumb and you have to look up a guide. And so that's been kind of my experience with it. But it is what it is. I think I'm coming to a point where I don't know if I'm going to play the third game in the trilogy, just because I just don't think visual novels are for me. So it is what it is. And then I'm also still playing through Tales of Arise. I'm about close to 40 hours in. I think I'm reaching the end of the game at this point. I'll save more of a talk for that game and kind of get more in depth with it, both for the website and the YouTube channel, because that ties into my backlog series. So still playing it, mostly enjoying it. I have a few complaints about it, but I'll share those at a later date. Because without further ado, something that I want to do, man, is do something a little bit different for these episodes here in December, is switch to a little bit of ad reel that Skinner will throw in here right about now. Dear listeners, if there's something that you love more than a stack of fresh new theology books, it's probably coffee, right? Of course it is. Let's just pretend it is. Our friends over at Mukwano Coffee are wanting to elevate your coffee drinking to not just drinking coffee. That's so 2000 and late. They want it to be an experience, and they've partnered with TRG to hook you up with 10% off. If you go to mukwanocoffee.com and use code TRG, you can get 10% off on your coffee. And let's be honest, you're going to need that coffee because Halo's coming out. You're going to be staying up late playing games. Nobody drinks Mountain Dew anymore. We reformed people, or just adults, We are adults, right? We like to drink coffee. So hook yourself up, or some loved ones, or maybe the people that you destroy in Halo. Hook someone up with a thing of coffee this holiday season. This code will be running all throughout December and January. So if you get some Christmas money and it's burning a hole in your pocket, don't spend it on the overpriced skins in Halo Infinite shop. Spend it on coffee. So again, go to MukwanoCoffee.com, use code TRG, get 10% off. And without further ado, let's get back into the show. And then now that we're back, because of the magic of the internet and how I'm recording this, let's get into the topic of the show. Man, so here's the dealio. Let's be honest. We talked about this on the last episode. Everyone's got a backlog, right? Managing it is not that easy. Designing an app is not easy. And releasing it to the public is even more so not easy. So how did Charles Watson come up with, release, and maintain the GG app? Well, we've kind of covered a little bit of that, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. So, dear listeners, join me as I sit down with Charles, and we're going to discuss the GG app, dealing with competition, and just kind of discuss the future of the app going forward. So, Charles, man, like I mentioned at the top of the show, longtime dear listeners, people that are in the TRG community, they know you. They've probably interacted with you in the TRG Facebook group. I'm sure a lot of them are over in your Discord server for the GG app. And so they're familiar with you. But, I think one of the cool things with the GG app is that, at least within TRG, it's kind of almost like a household name thing. Like, I see people posting screenshots or talking about it in the different areas where TRG exists, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, or especially in the Discord server. But you got a little bit into the origins of the GG app. You were using Goodreads, you were familiar with Letterboxd, you had all these recommendations and ideas for the GG app. So, man, like, what kind of, with your background in software development, what kind of really spurred you to go, you know what, I'm going to make this app? Was it just because you wanted to share recommendations with people, or was there's something more to it?
I definitely think it was more selfish. Like, I just wanted a place for myself. But I
Yeah.
mean, I've always wanted to have like my own business that I run and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I mean, 4 years ago, that was like, I've been a software developer for 8 years. So that was like
Mm-hmm.
half back, whatever. So it's still trying to like get some good projects under my belt that I could
Mm-hmm.
use for potential employers or whatever. Um, so yeah, and then just having everyone in TRG like also wanting something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a easy thing to, it's like easy motivation to build it.
Yeah. It's
Um,
kind of like a no-brainer almost, given all the
yeah,
peer pressure.
yeah. And I spent like a couple of months. I think I like first was thinking of the idea in February, and like talking with you guys about it, and um, just like getting some basic ideas out there for what I wanted it to be. And then I think I coded the first like usable version in one weekend on
Oh,
4th of
wow.
July weekend. Um, yeah. So
So did you have to, like, because I don't, again, I will admit that I don't know a lot about coding. I need to learn it because of the robotics classes I'm teaching. And then one of the classes I'll be teaching next year is literally teaching kids how to code. So, like, did you get any sleep that weekend, like working on that? Or like is it easy to code? I mean, I, I don't know, kind of walk me through that process a little bit.
yeah, I don't really remember back then, but
It was just all kind of
I
a blur.
definitely have had many sleepless nights since
Hmm.
then.
Yeah.
Whether it's like something is broken and I have to stay up and fix it, or like I'm laying in bed watching TikToks until 2 a.m. and then someone's like, your site is down. So I have to get up and go downstairs and figure out what's wrong. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, coding is not always a walk in the park.
Yeah. So I guess with that then, has, because just kind of thinking about that, at least when you were working on the app and launching it, was that, I guess, how stressful was that? Because I mean, you know, you talk about staying up late and then you get a message that the site's down. Like, were you? I don't know. Kind of walk me through that a little bit. You know, what was your mindset or mental state when you were developing the app at the start of everything?
Oh, um, I don't know. I think I just had like some crazy amount of motivation to like get it
Mm-hmm.
out for everyone and get it into everyone's hands. Because I mean, I did like a basically like a pre-order type thing where you
Mm-hmm.
could reserve your username, and then um, I think I had a deal where you could pay $1 to lock in like $12 a year forever
Mm-hmm.
for the elite membership. And so I don't know. I think just knowing that I had a lot of people that were already ready to use it and waiting, I
Mm-hmm.
think that made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
I
Kind of gave you
think
that.
in the first like week or two, had already like 500 or 1,000 users,
Oh wow.
and that was all TRG people. So
Yeah. So I mean that's a huge boost in motivation to get it going. Yeah.
yeah,
That kind of makes all that like stress and all that anxiety, I guess, that would come from doing all that, just make it a little bit better because you know that you have that support there versus, because I know like with some people that I talk to that are just starting out with content creation, whether it's a podcast or Twitch or YouTube, you know, the numbers seemingly aren't really there at the beginning, and so it's kind of hard to really keep going. But if you kind of stay consistent with it and you push past that, it's kind of like what we talked about in the episode with John Harrison, and you push that, you tend to see growth come from that. And actually, I think one of your brothers, shout out to him, the Co-op Trio podcast, you know, he's doing that as well, continuing to put out content over there. And so it's kind of cool to see really both of you guys in your own different avenues continuing that and working through that. So let me switch gears here a little bit then, because with the GG app, can you kind of explain to some of our listeners and viewers who maybe don't really know what the app is? I'm sure they're probably looking at it now while they're listening to this, but kind of what is the app? How does it work? What are some features of it? Kind of just go over that.
yeah. So the main thing, um, the reason I started it is, like I said, I was getting a bunch of recommendations, so I needed a place to put them, um, and so it kind of started with just like the very basic logging of like what you want to play, and then I had a I still have a couple different statuses, so like what you want to play, what you're currently playing, what you've beaten or completed 100%, or games that you've like started playing but not really into at the moment, so you shelve those, or games you just are don't want to play at all, and
Yeah.
so you can abandon those. So some basic tracking of different states, I would say, for the games, um, and then and then the other basic thing was following other people, because like I said, getting recommendations, you want to be able to see what other people are playing as well, so you can add even more to your backlog.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it's kind of those few features are like still the main thing at the moment.
Hmm.
I mean, I think those will be like the core things forever, but um, yeah,
Yeah, man. Well, no, that's good. I think that's enough to kind of whet people's appetite a little bit and kind of get them going like, oh man, I do need to kind of keep track of my backlog a little bit, or even just I think the one thing that's been helpful for me in using the app is just having the want to playlist, because I'll see a game or a trailer or something and go, oh, that looks really cool, I want to play it. And then, you know, before I was using the app, I would forget what the game was and it would come out and
yeah,
I would be like,
exactly.
wait, did I want to play that? So that's been helpful for me, just keeping track of all that. And so I think that'll be helpful for a lot of folks. But it's like what you said, the ability to follow people is really cool, but it might be a detriment to your backlog a little bit, as is
Yeah,
joining any of TRG's community areas because you
yeah.
get inundated with recommendations. Um, but I gotta say, for me on my end, kind of watching this app start from where it is to where it is now has been really cool to just see how it's kind of blossomed. And one of the cool things that really kind of blew me away as you're working on the app was this. I don't know if collaboration is the right word. You'll have to correct me on that, but like seeing it mentioned on one of Kind of Funny's episodes, I was like, wait, what? I know I know this app and the person. How did that come about?
Um, that came about through someone in the Discord, Eric. Um, he just reached out to them and they responded, and that was that. I think
That easy.
they might have already been using the app, a couple of
Hmm.
them, or maybe it was when Eric reached out. But yeah, they've been using it ever since. So
That's pretty
yeah,
cool. So was there a pretty big difference in both traffic to the website and just users from before that moment when it was announced or mentioned or talked about on an episode and then afterwards? Was there like a huge shift, or was like, what was that like?
yeah. So I'm pretty sure the site crashed a lot. Actually,
Okay.
I don't know if it fully crashed, but it like came to a screeching halt. Like
Hmm.
everything was taking like a minute to load, which is a really long time.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to like, that was one of those like sleepless moments where I had to like hurry up and figure out how to
Yeah.
make it run better, because there's all these brand new people like coming to the site and you don't want it to be dead when you get there.
Right.
You call it the hacker news effect or the product hunt effect.
Hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, and then it's, I think that moment it like the daily average or whatever like started slowly increasing
Hmm.
for new users. Yeah, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
every time Blessing mentions the app on Twitter, like it almost crashes. So like you need to warn me when you're gonna
Right.
tweet about the app, because I need to make sure it's working.
Kind of give you
But
some heads up so you can like
yeah,
boost the servers a little bit.
monitor
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
So that's something else I kind of want to talk about a little bit, shifting gears, because you mentioned how they'll mention it, or that when they mentioned it, the site crashed and you were trying to work to get everything back up and running. And, when Blessing mentions it, it's a similar situation. You're the only person working on this app. Is that correct?
yeah.
So, dude, how do you, this might be a dangerous question, but, and I might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but like, how do you manage that? Because I don't presume to think that making this podcast and community management and all that stuff is the same workload to what you're experiencing in relation to me and kind of with TRG and all that stuff. Because I have some people helping with the community side of stuff, and then Skinner helps with the editing, thankfully. But like, dude, what is that like working on? Because you're not only just developing the app, you're developing the app and you're managing the community, which it literally, I mean, there's a reason that like churches and businesses hire a social media manager or two or a team, because it takes a lot of time to really cultivate a community. But man, you're taking all of that on. And what is that like, man? How do you balance everything, or do you balance everything?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes in waves. Like, I mean, for example, the past few weeks, I haven't really been around the Discord a lot, because
Hmm.
I started a new job. Um, just trying to get settled with that.
Hmm.
And I mean, just been 4 years of trying things and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And I mean, there's people who do help. So like
Mm-hmm.
Haley, she runs the book club. She's actually been gone for a couple of months, and so I have to run the book club, and that's been
Oh, okay.
really hard.
You
I'm
have to take
definitely
the
not
hat.
as good at that as she is, but and then I do have a couple of moderators in the Discord, and then as far as like the app goes, I do all the coding and everything. But once I opened up crowdsourced editing for the database,
Mm-hmm.
um, that was, I got like 1,000 games that had edits, pending edits. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I was like trying to go through all those myself at first.
Yeah.
That's just 1,000 games, not 1,000 edits. So there was like
Okay.
10
Okay.
to 12 edits per game as well. So
Oh,
it was a
wow.
ton of work.
So that's not even, it's way more than 1,000 things that you had to kind of look over. That you have one game, but
Right.
then there could have been like several edits to that one game.
Right. Yeah. Like people submitting photos or covers or release dates or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And then I got a couple volunteers to help with that as well. So
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So has that kind of helped kind of ease the burden a little bit, or has it made more work for yourself? Because I imagine, if you open, because you said that you opened the you did like crowdsource editing. I figured that would make the workload even more because you're having to look at all those edits. Or has that kind of leveled out since then?
Yeah. It's definitely leveled out. Like I said at the beginning, it was like 1,000 pending games. Um, and I think it took us a couple of months to like finally catch up because we would do a bunch of games and then wake up the next morning and like, oh, we're back up to 1,000 again. like, oh, we finally got to 500. And then the next morning it's at 750 because someone went on a rampage going through all their
Man,
lists and collection and
yeah.
everything. But I think we're sitting at about like 250 right now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
from the sounds of it, it seems more manageable. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm totally ignorant of all this,
Yeah.
but it seems like that's been a good help to you. So, man, like, what has it been like really just trying to, because I'm always curious about these kind of things. My wife is super gracious of, um, and allowing time for TRG and allowing me to work on this stuff like that. When it comes to you and your family, like, what has that been like? Is there any advice that you would give to people that are, wanting to get into coding and develop their own app, and maybe some things you learned along the way that would help them kind of keep that work-life balance a little more even, or is there no such thing?
My number one advice would be to not have 4 side hustles going at the same time. Like maybe one side hustle is okay, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in that 4-year time span, I've also had a bunch of, I don't know how to word it, but twice I had no job. So
Mm-hmm.
I had extra time to work on the app. I didn't always use it wisely, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, kind of like what I mentioned before, is just kind of comes in waves. Like sometimes I'll just, instead of coming downstairs to work from 8 to midnight or whatever, like I'll just hang out with my wife and my kids and not work
Mm-hmm.
on the app, which at the moment is nice, because I'm not like relying on it for income. So it's not
Right.
like it's not like I have to get this done or whatever. It's kind of more relaxed at the moment. Um, but there's definitely times where I spent like working all day and then
Mm-hmm.
just have like mealtime with my family and then work from like 8 to 4 a.m. on the app.
Yeah. Golly.
Yeah. And sleeping like 4 hours a night.
Golly,
That's the
dude.
thing. Like, if you want to do this, you got to give up something. And so
Yeah.
it's either sleep or family or friend time or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I think more than like trying to fit everything in one day, it's better to do it in like waves, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Spend a week where you work nights on your side projects or whatever, and then a week with your family or whatever. So you have kind of like that Zen time or
Yeah.
flow time, I guess, even though
Yeah.
it's day to day. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's something I've noticed with a lot of people who tend to kind of break out or try to do like some kind of small business or something, is that, you're like, especially if you watch a show like Shark Tank and you listen to how people started their business and like the really almost sleepless nights, like there's a lot of
yeah,
work that goes into it. Even with something like this podcast, I think people are always surprised when they hear how much time I put into it with the community management and stuff like that. Even the episodes, just planning and coordinating, they're like, I didn't know there was that much work in it. I'm like, yeah, it's not just sit down and record. It's there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
yeah,
Um, but oh man, I was going to ask you a question. I totally forgot. Oh, here it is. Because you mentioned like having multiple side hustles. I kind of picked that up. Like, are you the kind of personality that has to always be doing something at every minute of the day, or else you'll go nuts? Because I'm a lot like that, and I'm learning now, since I've transitioned into this teaching job, that I, I'm learning how to kind of sit down and rest a little bit and not really do anything and just kind of enjoy that time. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. I still wrestle against it sometimes. But are you that same kind of mentality or personality type?
yeah, definitely like those memes where it's like you feel guilty for not playing games, but then when you're playing games, you feel guilty for not working or whatever.
Yep.
Like I deal with that all the time. I mean,
Yep.
even when I feel relaxed, like that's still in the back of my mind. Like I could be getting this done or I could be getting that
Yeah.
done, but try and especially like if it's during family time, I'm like really trying to
Hmm.
focus on that and try not to worry too much about work stuff because I know there's always going to be more work.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. It just kind
yeah,
of never ends.
yeah. But then that's also why I don't play very many games because it's either I'm working or spending time with my family.
Yeah.
And then, but sometimes like my wife goes up to her parents' house for the weekend and I stay home and then I have time to do work and play games or whatever. So
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. It's good that y'all have that balance there where you guys can do that. Because I know not everyone has that sort of thing. Um, I did kind of want to talk about something a little bit. And we don't have to get into this. This was just something I was thinking about here recently, kind of with everything going on with, and I can't remember the name of the other company per se. I want to say it was like Lightwire, I think is what it was. They made a tweet talking about Streamlabs OBS kind of copying really their entire website down to the reviews at the bottom of the page. And I was sitting there like, golly, I hate this kind of crap. It drives me nuts. As someone who has a graphic design background, I hate this stuff with a passion. And as I was sitting there kind of going over that during that day that it was happening, it reminded me of how this was like years ago. Like, a
yeah,
similar a website or app, I don't even know what to really call it, kind of did something like that with the GG app a little bit. And it kind of got me thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, this kind of happened to Charles like years ago. And again, we don't have to get into this if you don't want to. I'm not trying to throw this other app under the bus. That's why I'm not even naming
yeah, we don't
them.
have to name names.
Yeah. But like, what was that like, man? Walk me through that a little bit. Just kind of seeing it and then like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I think if I didn't have the experience that I have, I probably would have handled it differently. But um, so I was closer to that time was pretty active in another community for people doing entrepreneurial businesses and stuff, and
hmm
like a lot of people in that group community posted um, examples of other people ripping them off, and so I guess I was aware that that could happen and it might happen, and
hmm
so when it did happen, I like it's still frustrating, but um, yeah, I mean, I think I called him out on Twitter, but besides that, it's just
Yeah.
whatever. Like a lot of the advice that people were giving in the other community is basically like if someone is like directly copying you, like they don't have the same vision as you and they don't have the same passion, like they're just trying to get something out quick. Not to say that those people who did that don't have passion or whatever, but um, in a lot of cases, like they don't have the passion to like keep it going. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have to worry too much about like the competition because like they might die off in a year or 2 years, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they don't have something driving them to keep doing it because they just
Right.
copied your site basically. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, there's all sorts of nuance in that discussion, but
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember like because I'll even say because I don't know how you feel about it, but just seeing kind of your responses to them on Twitter. You say, and I don't want our listeners to kind of get this misconstrued. When you said that you called them out on it, it wasn't. I thought you handled it really well, like way better than what I would have done because when I saw that happen, I would have been. I really felt like if I was in that situation, I would have gone like full scorched earth on the person. Probably not so much now, but definitely then that's how I felt. But you handled it like it was almost like you still were firm about it, but you kind of played it off like in a playful manner too, like hey, I get it, whatever. So I thought you handled it pretty well. So part of the reason why I bring that up is to kind of see how you felt about it, which you went over, but to even just kind of share a little bit for some of our listeners who maybe have a business or are wanting to start one or something, what kind of advice from that would you give to them to help them wade through those waters if they ever come across it?
yeah. I mean, kind of the same advice that I was reading back then. Like, there's like to do apps, for example. Like, there's literally thousands of them, and a lot of them are making money. Like, there's tons of room for competition, and actually, competition sort of like validates that what you're doing is worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially like if the competition is also making money doing that same thing. Um,
Right.
so like there's always room to like carve out your own version of the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, IGN just announced that they're coming up with their version of GG
Oh,
called
really?
Playlist. Yeah. Um, so I mean, I sort of like I commented on their tweet and was like, it's nice to have some new competition enter the arena.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. Like, there's always room. Like, not everyone likes IGN, so they might want to use something else. Or
Mm-hmm.
not everyone likes how I set up GG, so maybe they'll like IGN's offering. So I don't know.
Yeah. Man, I gotta say, I really find kind of like your laid back approach to it pretty refreshing because in some of the leadership books I've read or entrepreneur stuff I've read, it seems like there is a little bit of a different mindset than kind of what you have, man. Like like, I guess why are you so laid back? I know this is kind of like a weird question. I don't mean it to be like as confrontational as it may sound. I'm just like where does that come from, man? Because I know for like some people, it is not easy to get in that mindset.
It's definitely not easy. Like, I still struggle with like wanting to quit some days, or I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not necessarily wanting to quit lately, but I still get like demotivated when I see like a competitor building a feature that I wanted to build and I haven't got to yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's still frustrating sometimes because I feel like I'm not doing enough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just trying to have more of a long term mindset and like big picture thinking. Like, in 5 years? Where do I want to be? And where do I want the
Mm-hmm.
app to be or whatever? I don't know. I think that just helps with not worrying too much about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's good. So it sounds like you just really kind of put blinders on and just focus on your work, and you're more concerned with getting to the point that you see yourself in 5 years rather than playing the comparison game with where everybody's at now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my main thing is like, I just want a business that I can have for myself mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I might not ever hire anyone to help me with it. So I'm just trying to make it at least something sustainable for myself to where like I wouldn't necessarily have to have a full time job on the side, and then eventually it
Mm-hmm.
can be just working on GG full time.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool, man. I've got two questions left that I can think of. And the first one is, with the amount of work that you're doing on the app itself, have you thought about bringing anyone on to kind of help with some of that workload on the app itself, or do you really just kind of want to keep this to be like you want to have sole control over it, so to speak?
yeah, yeah. I don't plan on bringing anyone else in. I mean, it adds a whole extra layer of complexity because then I have to
Mm-hmm.
like manage someone.
Right.
And I mean, sometimes just working on it myself is difficult enough. Like having
Right.
someone who is like relying on me for something, I don't necessarily know if I want that.
Yeah.
I mean, besides
Not.
the 100,000 people who are using the app, but
Right. Right. Right.
yeah,
No, that's totally understandable, and I don't mean to ask that to be mean or anything like that, because I understand that if you bring someone on, that's actually adding more work in some degrees, because sure they're taking up part of the workload, but they're also adding more because you have to provide oversight now and deadlines and
right.
management
And I have to
and do the whole thing.
explain to them how everything works, and
Exactly, yeah,
yeah, like
and that's
even just so I had like a couple video calls with the people who are helping moderate the database now, and that, I mean, that's a lot simpler, but even
hmm
that took, I don't know, like a week or two of answering questions and like
hmm
all the nuances of like, oh, well, this picture is doesn't fit the criteria that we have set out, but it's not that bad. But this other
hmm
picture doesn't meet it, but it is bad. So it's like, just
yeah.
yeah. So I don't plan on having any employees. I know a lot of people have asked if they could help me, and I was
Yeah,
just kind of, well, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Fair enough, man. Well, that works. I mean, that makes sense. I think that works out really well. And I mean, you're like I said, I'm still amazed that one person did this app and is knocking out as well as you are. So, with that being said, kind of where do you see yourself? Maybe not 5 years, but just in the future.
Yeah.
With the GG app, kind of what are some I don't know, maybe, what are some features you'd like to add? Give a little scoop there. No, I'm just kidding. But what are some things you'd like to do with the app? What are some things you'd like to see going forward? And kind of what does that look like?
There's so much that I want to do with the app. Like, I have like there's a public roadmap that has over 100 feature suggestions, and probably 98% of them I've already thought of.
Oh,
And plus
wow.
I have a whole nother list that's not public that has other things on it too. So
Okay.
um, like the whole play status system, it's just like the want to play, currently playing, etc. I'm going to be redoing that whole thing, so um, it'll allow for multiple playthroughs and
Okay.
tracking what console you're playing on and
Oh,
start and
okay.
end dates and um, time tracking. So there's a lot in just that one area.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do a whole new collection system. So right now the collection system is based on the play statuses. So if you say you're playing something, then it's in your collection. But the new collection system, you'll be able to add anything you want. It doesn't have to have play status or any of that. And then you can also add notes about that game.
Okay.
Like maybe if you are writing a guide or whatever, you can have a bunch of notes to help you with that. Ownership tracking. There's so much. Eventually, I also want to have like price tracking as well.
Okay.
Like looking
To like help
to look
people
for
find
deals
deals
and
or
stuff.
something. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then some other smaller things like if someone beats a game or writes a review for something that you have on your backlog or want a playlist, then it'll let you know so you can check that out and see if you still want to play it.
Yeah. Well, that's really
Yeah.
cool, man. I think
That's
that's
just
got
a
a lot of people
small
excited.
sample of what
Yeah.
I have coming. Yeah.
And if people want to know more to stay up to date, they can join your Discord, right?
Yes, Discord, ggapp.io/Discord. And the roadmap is at /roadmap. Um, yeah.
Very cool, man. Well, man, like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show to talk about the app, talk about some of your experiences and things of that nature. Man, I love kind of just seeing those wins for you from just getting the app launched to seeing people get started on it to the kind of funny thing to even now where it's really so. I mean, I use it every week, just keeping track of my backlog and like, do I want to abandon this game or do I want to just shelve it for right now? It's always a dilemma, but longtime listeners know if I put something in the abandoned list, it's never truly abandoned because I have many flip flops, and so it's always bound to just wind back up under playing. But man, because as time is running out here, we'll kind of start landing the plane a little bit. I can't really let you go just yet because, as always, a staple of our show is the recos, right? So obviously, I would encourage people, and I think you would encourage people to check out the GG app, the Discord, all that stuff.
Yes.
But aside from that, what's a reco that you think our dear listeners should check out?
Oh, man. I don't know. I've been into 3D printing a lot lately.
Okay.
I don't have any specifics, but if you, I'm trying to get into doing um, like collector figures, like making my own collectible figure,
Okay.
like designer art toy, basically. It's one of my
Yeah.
goals for 2022.
Is that one of
Um,
your many side hustles?
yes, that one's like a mini hustle.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I just want to get at least one figure sold eventually, but got to
Yeah,
come up
man.
with something first. So I guess look up some art toys on Instagram or something
Hmm.
because there's a ton of cool ones, not necessarily gaming related, but there's a lot.
Yeah, man. Very cool. Well, that is one reco. One of my other recos for me, then, kind of sharing some of those, dear listeners. Again, check out the GG app. Links to everything will be in your show notes, to their socials, to Discord, to the app itself on the website. Be sure to check that out if you're not using it already. Some of my other recos are going to be Halo Infinite, because the week that this episode drops, Halo Infinite, the campaign is coming out. If you haven't already been playing the multiplayer, I don't know what you're doing, but the campaign comes out. So if you got Game Pass or if you pre-ordered it, enjoy it. I know I'll be playing it and having a lot of fun. And then also check out the TRG Forza Horizon Club. Again, if you need an invite, hit me up in the Discord and we'll get you over there as well. But Charles, man, thank you for taking the time to join me on this episode, kind of share some of your experience with making this app and kind of share what the future looks like for the app as well. I think the future looks pretty bright for GG, and I'm excited for you, man. It's going to be a lot of fun just seeing how everything plays out.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, man. Well, as always, dear listeners, if you like what we do here at TRG, you can support us over on patreon.com. You can get some sweet merch over at the merch shop. Links to all that will be in your show notes. If you want to connect with TRG, you can do so through a variety of ways. If you go to the website, that's just kind of where links to everything will be at, to our YouTube, Facebook group, Discord, Twitter, Instagram, all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, follow us, connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd also love to I would love to just fire a couple rockets at you in Halo, and then just see how that goes. I'm sure you'll destroy me in that or Forza, but either way, it'd be a lot of fun. But as always, dear listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode, and be a deer, keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.